You play the long note and just in the end it's like you get lost of your breath control. You just push on the end of the note. And that, of course, does not sound ideal. And I think if this happens to you, you may even not have noticed until now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Vera's Recorder channel. Today we are going to listen to 3 not so effective ways of producing a tone on a recorder, and we will explore what we can do about it. Nice to see you here. This is my first video in English and I've been teaching on my German recorder channel for several years, and this is the first time that I speak to you in English, and I'm very excited to have an international audience now. So I hope you will have a bit of patience with me because my English has to develop in terms of recorder teaching. So today we are not talking about how to play the right notes on a recorder, but in general how to play the notes on a recorder, how they sound. And if you play the recorder as a beginner or even as an advanced player, you perhaps will know that the most challenging part of playing the recorder is the sound of its tone. Everyone can just blow into the recorder and there's a kind of tone. But if you really want to play with a nice musical tone, it's so difficult because we don't have any embouchure. We just have to make the tone from our body. Of course, you want to play the right notes and perhaps you are studying a very difficult piece. That's another theme. But today I will show you 3 typical mistakes which can happen even to you, even if you are an advanced player, and how you can improve this. So the first thing I hear many times in lessons with pupils is not to have enough breath support. These recorder players would play with a weak tone, which is wobbling, which is vibrating a bit, and it doesn't sound very loud. That would mean that the breath support is not developed enough, or is not even at all developed. And breath support means that you are able to breathe in deeply in your body by controlling some muscles around your diaphragm, which give a lot of space in your body so that you can breathe in a lot of air. And then you can hold the air as long as you want to. So you control how much air goes out of the recorder and how much leaves in. Because if we just breathe in, our body says in and out. So all the air would come out in one time. And that's not what we want. We want to have a clear sound on a recorder, which is a bit louder even. So what can you do about this? Of course, you have to train your breath support, and that's not complicated. It's not even difficult to learn, and it even does not take a long time. You just have to exercise it very often. Try to exercise it every day, but not hours and hours. Some little exercises every day would develop your breath support in some weeks so that you get a total different feeling of blowing into the recorder and a much better sound. It can be that you have already a good breath support, but you can still hear some vibration, very soft vibration in your tone, and that could mean that you are a bit tense, that you have tension here around the area of your larynx, and that is a kind of tension which doesn't help, because then you try to control the air from your throat. So even if you have a good breath support and you are tensed here, that could make your sound less ideal. Second thing which can happen in your tone, in the tone of your recorder playing, perhaps, is that you try to make too much dynamic fluctuation. You try to play a beautiful messa di voce, you try to begin your tone a little softer, and then you make a crescendo, and you go back, you make a decrescendo, and that it's a bit too much. Because even if you like the sound of this, that's a question of taste, of course, even then it doesn't sound well in tune. Because the recorder tone is very easy like this. If you play louder, it's sounding higher. The pitch is higher. And if you are playing softer, the pitch is lower. So when you make extreme dynamic fluctuation, your pitch is getting low and high and low. Because even if you play a piece like this, which I have as an example today, it's by the way from Jacob van Eyck, which is without an accompaniment, then someone with a good musical ear, perhaps also you, can hear that it's not in tune. So try to play as straight as possible in your tone. Of course, you can make a little bit of crescendo and decrescendo, but it has to be very subtle. So that it's still, if you listen exactly, it sounds a bit out of pitch, but it's so quickly that your ear doesn't really register it. So that's in order, but don't exaggerate. I know that the grandfather of the recorder, Franz Brüchen, also had a phase wherein he played with a lot of messa di voce. I think that was a time of exploring the ancient music and trying to play in different ways on a recorder. And of course, Franz Brüchen played everything very beautifully, but I would not recommend you to imitate that. Just try to play as straight as possible. Of course, not too straight so that your tone is dead, let's say. It sounds like a computer. That would be too much in the other direction, of course. And the third and last problem which can occur in your recorder tone, and that is happening with pure beginners, but also with very advanced players. And I hear that very regularly in my lessons, in my practice of teaching the recorder, is that you give a little or a big push on the longer notes, just in the end. You play the long note, and just in the end it's like you get lost of your breath control. You just push on the end of the note as if you quickly want to go to the following tone. And that of course does not sound ideal. And I think if this happens to you, you may even not have noticed until now, because that happens when you are not exactly with your concentration, even at the end of the long note. Then you have played the long note and you are already thinking of the following note, and then you don't listen to yourself in the end. What am I doing? And if I would have to mention general key to play with a beautiful tone, I would say it's listening to yourself. That is important for anything you play. And you will think, of course, I listen to myself, but very often we are busy looking at the score, very much thinking about playing the right notes, playing difficult fingerings, and so on. Then it could happen that you forget to listen to yourself, especially in these long notes. So try, of course, not to do this. I think that's very easily by just listening until the end of a long note, and in fact doing nothing on the end. Just end the note. By the way, in my examples, I was playing this recorder for you. That's a Ganassi recorder, and that was very nice for the piece of Jacob van Eyck. Jacob van Eyck was a Dutch recorder player and a carillonneur in the Cathedral of Utrecht in the Netherlands, and he played the recorder on the churchyard to supplement his income. So, I hope you enjoyed. I could give you some inspiration, and if you liked my first English video, please give a thumbs up, and perhaps you want to get an abonnee of my channel, perhaps the first one. I would be very glad. At least I'm happy to see you back here on Vera's Recorder channel. Bye!